This is one of the most popular Fortnite creative maps, being played by thousands of players regularly and having earned millions of dollars according to Fortnite.gg. I have analyzed it to see what makes it so special and what techniques have been used in creating it. In this video, I'm going to break down what I found and show you how I adapted it in my version of this island concept. Do you want to learn how you can create similar experiences in Fortnite? Then strap in and let's go. The map is called 1v1 with every gun, which rhymes now that I say it out loud. And it's by Hive, a game design studio focusing on Fortnite Creative and UEFN. It is insanely popular with around 6,000 players on average playing it at the same time. The description is pretty simple, but it gives us a first glimpse into the most important features of the map. All weapons and vehicles, which means you'll be able to choose from every weapon and vehicle available in Fortnite when playing the map. Very fun, free for all, so it's no teams, which also wouldn't make sense when it's only 2 people playing the game together. 1v1 build resets, so you can build in this game, but the build can also be reset so that you can start again. Your loadout and elimination save. When you have picked the weapons you want to use and are happy with them, you get them assigned again automatically once you reopen the map. It's a cool feature, but it's also rather simple to implement. Crazy secrets. I'm not sure about what these crazy secrets are, but I'm also guessing I know where you can get them. As far as I can tell, it's basically a practice map for people to get better at Fortnite. You can try out every weapon or every combination of weapons, and you can practice your building, and you can do it in a rather stress-free environment with just one other person, so you can focus on one thing at a time. Let's take a look at the map and the environment now. Alright, here I am in the pre-game area, and let's start the game. As you can see, I came in with all of the weapons that I used the last time I was in this map. So my jetpack, my crossbow, and these guns. The pre-game area is just some floor tiles here above the main map, where they have placed some vehicle spawners, like these planes and these motorcycles that you can drive, and these grids of weapons that you can choose. So if I want the grapple blade, for example, let's exchange this for this one. I now have the grappling blade. The weapons walls are basically vending machines and grids, and they are separated into categories. And on top of the walls, they have placed some 3D icons for the categories. So here are the sniper rifles, here are the shotguns, and so on. On the other side, we have some cars, some more vehicle spawners, the hoverboard, and the helicopter. On the back side here, we have some marketing material. These are matchmaking portals, where you can be transported directly into another map. So if you want to feature another map of yours in your map, you can use a matchmaking portal and give players the ability to jump from one of your islands to another one. They have also implemented a changing booth. So here I can jump in and change my skin, my back bling, whatever I want, and come out looking very pretty. Here, this verse device allows me to enter secret codes. This is probably where they have hidden the secrets, and you can see here that you can just type in any code. One other special thing that they have here is these custom crosshairs. So if I interact with this, I have this menu and I can choose one of these custom crosshairs. And you can see the preview in the center here. I can also customize the color and the size, or choose one of the preset colors. If I close this now, this stays this way. And also if I choose now a gun, you can see that the default crosshair is no longer there. So they have hidden this. They have also placed these mod benches here for me to be able to customize my weapons. For example, here I can change how the magazine looks, just buy and equip it. And now if I go out of here, you can see the magazine on the gun. All of this gets saved as well. When I have figured out my loadout with all of my weapons and stuff, I can jump into the main map and start practicing. Normally my player would die falling from such a height, but they have turned off the fall damage. The environment is very simple. It's just a floor with a grass texture on top and some walls, and these ramps for you to start building. You can also just start building anywhere, and also there are infinite building materials, so you can build infinitely, however you want. Once I'm done with my practice and I want to start new, I can use one of these gigantic buttons to reset the builds. So if I interact with this, you can see all of the builds get destroyed. And if I want to change something, one weapon or my whole loadout, I can get transported back again to the pre-game area with this teleporter. And here I am, and now I can exchange, for example, this gun or this gun. Most of the UI is pretty much default. You have the default health and shield bar, you have the default weapon slots and the building materials, and the map on the top right corner. Some things that are noteworthy here are that there's infinite ammo, so you can shoot infinitely, and there's infinite build materials, as we have seen, and no fall damage. Let's take a look at how this can be built. So here we are in my finished map, and you can see it's looking pretty similar, like hundreds of other maps in Fortnite. We have the pre-game area with the floor tiles here on top, and the main map on the bottom, with the grass floor, the ramps, and the buttons to reset the builds, and the teleporter to be teleported back up again to the pre-game area. We have some vehicle spawners, the weapon vending machines, mod benches, and here's the matchmaking portal and the changing booth. Of simple cubes for the walls and the floor. And for the floor material, I just used the default landscape material in Fortnite. So in my content drawer, if I go into the Fortnite folder, I can search for only material type assets by using the filters here on top. So here you can see I've checked the material filter, and if I now select it, it only shows me assets that are type material. And here's the Fortnite landscape that I can just drag and drop onto my floor, as I've already done. The rants are also just from the Fortnite content. You can just drag and drop them in here. The button is a default button device. You can find them under Fortnite devices logic. Here's the button. You can exchange how the mesh looks if you wanted to, but I just chose to use the default here. These are connected to some explosive devices that are underneath the map here. Let me select them here. You can see they are arranged in a grid, and if I show the range visualization for damage, you can see these are basically huge spheres, and anything that's inside of the sphere during gameplay I can deal damage to, and I can decide who gets damage dealt. So in this case I don't want the player to take damage, but only the build structures. So here under player damage I've set it to 0, but structure damage just a very high number. To go back up to the pre-game area, the teleporter set up to be teleporter group B and target group A. And on top we have the corresponding target teleporter, which is just group A. Let's take a look at the island settings now. The island settings define a lot of the gameplay rules. So in my detailed panel, I can use this cogwheel and show only modified properties. So I don't have this huge list and can only show you what I have changed. For example, the max players is 2 players, so it's a 1v1. The game auto starts after 30 seconds. And under inventory, I can set up the infinite building resources, infinite ammo, and all of that. I also disabled the fall damage here, and that's mostly it. The pre-game area is just built out of simple floor tiles that you can find anywhere in the Fortnite content. And on top of the floor tiles, I've placed some vehicle spawners, also some different ones from the original, like these tanks, because I think it would be quite funny driving around here with some huge tanks. For my weapon vending machine grids here, I've built some custom meshes to place them on top. These meshes are built so that they fit automatically into the Fortnite grid. So if I place them here, and this one here, they automatically snap together, and I can build any structure with them however I want. Like this, and if I select all of them, and scale them up, they pretty much look exactly like these ones. The vending machines themselves are also just default devices that you can find in the Fortnite devices. If you place a vending machine, it's this huge box, but you can also change it to the screen only model here in the details panel, screen only, and now it only shows the screen. And under item list, you can just add any types of items. And for example, add a rifle here. And now the player can get a rifle from the vending machine. You can also set it up so that the weapons cost something, but as in the original, I chose to not do that. Here are also the weapon mod benches for players to customize their weapons. And these are also just default devices that you can find under Fortnite devices gameplay. Here, the weapon mod bench. The only thing I have changed here is that the mod cost is 0, so that any player can change any weapon without paying anything for it. The ability to save and load your loadouts is very simple to implement, as I said. It's just the save point device that you can also find under Fortnite devices system, save point. And you can just use the save loadout checkbox here. It's literally one checkbox. I have also made use of the autosave and autoload function, so it automatically loads and saves whatever it needs. I have also placed an island matchmaking portal. And this is also a default device that you can find under Fortnite Devices System, Matchmaking Portal. You just type in the island code here, and inside of the game, it will show the thumbnail of the island and allow players to jump into that island directly. Beside that, I have placed 2 changing booths because there are 2 players, and also the 2 player spawners for players to be able to spawn. I have also implemented my own very simple version of the custom Crosshair system, and I first want to show you how it looks like in the game. Okay, let me explain to you how this is set up. The system is built out of a pop-up dialog device, a HUD message device, a default button, and a HUD controller. Let me explain to you what these do. The HUD controller controls that the original crosshair is hidden whenever the player chooses to use a custom crosshair. The HUD message device displays a custom widget, which is just the custom crosshair. It's just an image, and the image is displaying the custom material. Let me show you how I built up the material. The material looks like this. We have the different crosshairs here in each of these comment boxes. I chose not to use textures. You could also just use a texture for all of your crosshairs, but I chose to just build them procedurally with some SDFs and default math functions. For example, here I have some circles. If I preview them, you can see them. In this case, they are also animating, and these are just some circles added together with a bit of animation. I've also built some default crosses, like this one or this one. And I've also built something with triangles. All of this is procedural, and anytime I'm finished with one of these patterns, I'm using a so-called named reroute node, and then use this result anywhere else in my material graph. I'm using a switch node to combine all of these together and decide which crosshair is shown. So here you can see circles, the cross, the triangles, and the cross 45 degrees. This switch is then driven by a switch value, which says when the value is 0, then show this one, when the value is 1, show this one, and so on and so forth. This value is a collection parameter from a material parameter collection. You can create a material parameter collection by right-clicking, going into material, and then material parameter collection. Inside of there, you can just add a material parameter, either a scalar parameter or a vector parameter. Scalar parameter are one-dimensional. In this case, this is my crosshair selection value. Whenever I change this, let's say from 3 to 1, you can see now it changes to this. If I change it to 4 or 5, it now changes to this triangle. I've also added a vector parameter. Vector parameters are 4-dimensional, and this can be a color, location, or whatever you choose to use this for. I've also implemented the color back here to tint my crosshair, but I've not implemented it in my widget. The pop-up dialog device also displays a custom widget, which is the crosshair selector. Looks like this. It has these buttons for the player to select the type of crosshair they want, and the disable and close button. These are just default Fortnite buttons. I wanted a very simple and straightforward way to connect my UMG widget to the crosshair selection. For that I used widget animations. Inside of my UMG editor, here on the bottom, I have animations. Here I've created several animations for my crosshair selection. If I select one of these animations, you can see here on the right, it's basically a very simple type of a sequencer. I don't have access to all of the track types that I have in the original sequencer, but I can use a material parameter collection track. And that's what I've done here. So here I have my NPC crosshair, and I've just added one keyframe for the crosshair selection parameter and set it to 1 in NM1, 2 in NM2, 3 in NM3, and so on and so forth. So this animation sets the parameter in my material parameter collection, and this in turn then selects which crosshair is shown in the material and then in the custom crosshair widget. To trigger these animations now when a button is pressed, I'm using the view bindings. So whenever this button is pressed, on clicked, I'm connecting it to the QPlay animation function, and then I'm connecting the specific animation to that. So here NM1, then NM2, and so on. The only buttons that are different from that are the disable and close buttons. For that I've used the Creative Modal dialog view model so that it can communicate with the pop-up dialog device. Under view bindings I can find button close, on clicked, and then I have connected to the button response of the pop-up dialog device, and in this case I've connected it to button 2. For the disable button there are two functions. First, it also plays an animation, and this animation is NM no crosshair. I've set it up in my material that one selection number displays no crosshair at all, and this is what this animation is setting. Then below it's also connected to a response, and in this case button 1. This is then all connected with the default event binding system. So for the HUD message device, which displays the crosshair, it is shown when the button 5 is pressed, which is this button device here. It is then hidden when the pop-up dialog button 1 is pressed, which is the disable button. The HUD controller, which hides the original crosshair, is enabled when the button is pressed here, and it's disabled when the disable button in the widget is pressed. In the pop-up dialog device, I've set it up that the default back button is button 2, which is the close button in my widget. This is how I built my adaptation of this island, which is called 1v1 Pew Pew Practice. It's live in Fortnite right now, so go check it out and tell me what you think. Let's quickly go over what we've covered. We've seen how we could recreate the core environment using simple cubes, materials, and Fortnite props. There wasn't that much, to be honest. We set up the island settings to match the gameplay. Infinite ammo, infinite builds, no fall damage, and the right player team structure. The pre-game area was rebuilt with customized meshes for the vending machine placement, full loadout customization, safe devices, and even vehicle spawners and changing booths for players to change their skin, just like in the original. I also showed you how to create your own version of the custom crosshair system, combining HUD message devices with UMG widgets, material switches, and user-controlled parameters to allow dynamic crosshair selection, all while hiding the default Fortnite HUD when needed. Now here's the big takeaway and maybe a bit of a hot take. 1v1 with every gun isn't a technical masterpiece. The environment is simple, the mechanics are straightforward, but the timing, clarity of purpose, and frictionless user experience are what made this map a hit. Just copying a popular map won't make you successful. What will make a difference is understanding why it works and then taking those lessons to build something fresh, useful, and well executed. Be creative and take risks. It may pay off or not. Find your own spin and build something that players haven't seen yet. Like my Fortnite map, Dragonbattle Clash of the Elements, where you play as warriors of 2 rival kingdoms and fight on the backs of giant flying dragons, while an interactive custom composed soundtrack tells the story as it's happening. It's very unique and has a lot of custom models, like a fully rigged and hand animated dragon, visual effects and UI, as well as my custom interactive musical storytelling system that allowed me to use my composed and recorded music and automatically play specific song parts whenever the gameplay calls for it, either for everyone or even separate tracks for both teams. It even has an optional intro cinematic with a custom subtitle system. You can find a video about that here. So you see, the map is very custom and outside of the norm, but it doesn't get played a lot, even with me putting out marketing material like gameplay videos and custom cinematic trailers. Now I don't understand the algorithm that determines which islands get shown to whom at what time, but I also didn't create the Dragonbattle map to make a quick buck. It was meant as a learning and showcase project and is still very much a concept map. I wanted to develop something that showcased a lot of my different skill sets and bring in my years of experience in developing interactive projects using Unreal Engine. A project where I could challenge myself and learn a lot along the way, which I did. And some of these learnings I'd love to share with the community, which is why I have submitted 2 talks to the Unreal Fest Stockholm in September, where I would like to explain and showcase my custom interactive musical storytelling system and how you can work much more effectively in UEFN when you approach it with an Unreal mindset. Which basically means I want to condense a lot of my years of Unreal Engine experience into actionable knowledge that I wish I had when I started out. If you'd like to see those talks, feel free to let Epic Games know. As for this video, I hope you learned something and it helped you in any way. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave them in the comments. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. See ya.